reality.
Oh,
And
yeah,
it's a
I did see
big
that.
goggle headset, but it's just clear.
I love
And
it.
it's like you got to
I
get
love
used
it.
to the hand motions, and he's touching the tree. The
It's
scapes
like something,
are beautiful.
It's like something Pit Viper would come out with or something. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Welcome back. Today we're talking with Doug Smith, the MCAA Innovator of the Year, about the practical side of innovation and how DSI has become a consistent leader in the innovation and implementation of construction technology.
And we're live. Episode 65. Don't wait. Innovate. We got an old friend back. Doug Smith is joining us. Well, because I don't know, he hangs those awards like I hang those participation trophies. They just keep stacking up behind him.
Wow.
Doug,
Good.
how you doing, man? Getting us canceled before we even get off the ground. It is great to see you.
Doing fine, doing great. Trying to slow down since the Innovate conference. You know, we had a big show here. Had a lot of people tour through, so it was quite a big week, quite a big roll up for sure.
Yeah, it's been a quite a good run. You got a little award there, which I'm sure we'll dive into as everyone gets mad at me for what I have to say, but that's just life. We're gonna go around and I think do our drinks, and so I am coming to you I'm joining the Trent bandwagon here. I am gonna have
First time for everything.
Yeah, right. A Celsius, which if you guys haven't tried Celsius,
Oh, those are good.
I absolutely love these right now. Somebody's probably going to chime in that there's something bad for me, but I feel good about it. So that's what I'm going to have. So as I start talking really, really fast later on and you're all like, shut up, you can blame Celsius for that one. Trent, I'm going to go to you since I was inspired by your quest to go on my own.
Yeah, still on the quest. So today marks day 59. So I'm repping, as everyone knows, I'm a plumber still at heart. So right out of the faucet that the men before me and me have made possible, right out of the faucet.
It looks like pickle juice.
Cup.
It does look like pickle juice.
It does.
Pickle juice?
It's a green cup, guys. Come on.
There's some bad water.
Hey.
You might want to get a filter.
Oh, come on, man. Yeah.
That's not alkaline based. Like, come on.
I've been out of Oh, yeah. Yeah. You know, it's well, it might be. I don't know. It's right out of the tap, but whatever the local water treatment facility has decided to do with their water, that's what I'm doing right now. But Travis, maybe you got something a little more interesting.
Well, I did decide to go ahead and be a drinker tonight. So I don't know if I've brought this one out before. Another local brew from Lena Brewery here. It is the Big Rooster, not Big something else, Rodler. So if anybody's not
what
familiar
else would
with
it be?
it's just a big red rooster. If you're not familiar with a Rodler, they also call them a shandy. So this is a wheat beer with a little grapefruit soda in it. It's a nice summer drink, nice and light. What about you, Jonathan?
I was going to be a good boy, but then they told us that we should stay inside for 2 days. And so I'm like, screw that. I'm going to grab, I got the Wise Man Kentucky rye whiskey. I'm not going to drink the whole bottle, but I'm going to do that tonight. It's actually a really good rye whiskey. I hadn't seen it on the shelves up here until just recently. But it's Kentucky straight. It's nice and smooth. Doesn't need watered down. It's decent. It's decent. Awesome. Doug, are you drinking anything today? Or are you at work?
I am still at work, and I'm following Trent's lead and drinking high quality H2O.
Plumbers, be proud.
Straight from the tap.
Yes, straight from the tap. Filtered though. Mine was filtered.
Didn't trust them, did you? You just couldn't trust.
Well, that's how you're the innovator, right? You're using the newfangled technology to get your water.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I don't mean to alarm you, Doug, but there appears to be a deer stuck in the wall.
It hit your wall at speed, man.
Must have had some good velocity when it ran into the building there.
Second floor and all.
was gonna say, yeah, you really got to talk to your drywallers and the exterior cladding if it can just get through that. I mean, anymore, and he's bouncing around inside of your office on you.
Oh my God. We really do need to
We'll
put
have
the
to-
other
have
side
to
of the
give you a
deer
little-
on that deer though. Like we need to have the other side of that deer.
There's
On the
deal.
outside of the building. That'd
Yeah,
be
like
new.
2 stories up. Just,
Yeah, it just
Oh,
it'd be
wow,
perfect.
we have really gone off the rails already.
Ow.
it's,
Well,
It's going nowhere fast.
yeah, well, at least we got all the way up from here. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, I didn't know there was lower. Is there anybody? Anybody?
we'll find out. Go ahead, Jeff. Let's see what-
Yeah, wow.
You got time left.
We still got lots of time left. And I hear you got an award at the MEP Innovation. So not only were you busy as could be during the event, giving everyone a tour, which, by the way, I have yet to do, but I will get there. And I happen to have your coworker, Will McManus, on the other show, on the crew.
Yep.
And he said at some point I'm going to get that tour when I'm there. So,
Perfect.
but yeah, I heard it was super busy. And then you got a little Innovator of the Year award, right?
Yeah, that was a surprise. It was very pleasant. We worked really hard getting the shop set up, making sure everything was working right, and kind of. I don't really consider me the innovator of the year. I told the guys at the show that was the team that did it. The whole team here got involved and made that thing happen. So I give them the credit for all that, for sure.
Well, I think that's probably one of the reasons that you were chosen too and we, this is the second one, and the theme has been all along is, yeah, you're doing cool stuff, but you're not only sharing, the praise with your people internally, but you're sharing with the industry. And I think that's what, if you're going to give yourself a pat on your back, like Jeff did earlier, that's one of the reasons that I would say that you earned that award. So, we definitely appreciate you opening your doors to us and showing all that cool stuff you're doing.
We had a good time doing it. It's fun to show other people what capabilities we have and what the new software and the tools that we're using can accomplish. The buy-in from the different teams that are involved. It was really, the one thing I said, I know Jonathan was there, but we didn't show any bullshit. When what we showed you was what we do every day, and if we don't do it, we're not going to show it to you because we didn't want to trick anybody, lead anybody down any rosy paths. That is our workflow, and that's what made it easy to sell. We just show you what we do, and it works. It worked great, and it showed well too. So the guys enjoyed it. It felt real, and I think that was our biggest takeaway was honesty is the best policy, right? Show them what you got, help them out. We've had thousands of calls since then, trying to ask for help with certain things. How do you do certain things? It's been really good.
Yeah, and I like that you're sharing that. And one of the things that I think we share as a personality wise is we'll tell you what's working, and that's our real workflow, and we'll tell you all the warts too.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
nothing's perfect.
Well, they'll show them to you. I mean, that's what's
Right.
great. I
Right.
think well, that came out a little.
Well, so
We,
we might not be releasing this episode.
we'll get there. We're going to power through. It's fun. But I think that's important. What you touched on there is if people have the opportunity to build networks with people like Doug and DSI. I mean, if there's any contractors out there listening, get that network built and get these mastermind alliances put together with people. Surround yourself with the best, get to know them, and these tours, go, buy a plane ticket and go see them. People like Doug Smith out there, as long as you reach out to them and put it together, the doors are open a lot of times. These different contractors that are doing cool things, and it's well worth the cost of admission to go. Conferences are great, but like Doug just said, there's big conferences out there like the Hanson Wade ones and stuff like that. And you can do all these big tours, but the red carpet rolls out for some of those, right? I mean, you're getting it's still worth it. You're getting a good tour, but you're not walking a real operational hallway. I mean, you're not seeing all the things. So the opportunity to do that, it is well worth the price of admission. And I think that is why Doug and his team deserve the award this year, and because people are still talking about that tour.
Yeah.
John and I do consulting. I've traveled to a lot of shops, and DSI's name comes up all over the place because we saw what, can you help us do what DSI's did? I mean, people bring it up. It's
I didn't get to
DSI.
talk to
definitely
you,
echoing.
Doug. I didn't get to talk to you after that, man, but I sat around with like some of the people as they're walking through, and I also talked to some of the people when they left. And aside from you getting quoted an awful lot, which you got quoted an awful lot throughout the rest of the week, your pit crew example, I think even I stole that from you, like for 3 different things, because it's the perfect example of how what the fab shop's supposed to be, which is really dialing those things in. But the level of integrity was commented on a bunch of different ways. That the reality of going through the shop, there were some people that actually saw some things that were like, oh, that's not working, and no one tried to say, oh, well, it really does work. It was all like, no, it's not. Do you know how to make it work? And and I think that's a big difference at times between the way that some of these tours go, and we've had some really good ones lately with the MCA, with the Fab Conference and everything, and how some of the ones that I've seen, like I went to a couple that were sort of more around technology and less around the Fab Shop, and they seemed to beat their chest really hard and say they had all the answers. But it was really nice to see somebody saying, we don't have all the answers, but we're willing to listen. If you guys can figure out any problems, like tell us, and we'll change it. And you also shared, like, there was a number of people there that walked away knowing that stuff they'd been trying to do but failing at could be done. And sometimes that's what you need. I mean, I think when I went to see Travis, your shop, and when I saw Pikey's and yours, Doug, at each shop, I ended up walking away with a bunch of sort of validation that, yeah, you can do it. Like, we didn't have enough time to learn exactly how, but yes, someone's doing it. They're doing it consistently. They're doing it as a business. They're kicking ass with that. So when we all came through there, if there was a wart that you kind of hoped people wouldn't see, what was that wart? Because I was just curious, because you started off, you're like, we're going to show you everything, warts and all. And then you proceeded to not show us a lot that I would consider a wart.
I would say that I'm probably overly critical. I look at things and I think we could do them better, and they may be being done very well already. And I'm just that incremental efficiency kind of guy. I sent you that video of my CNC machine just so you could see. And the example is, I took that process that I used to cut that wood, and there's 10 different tools that it uses, and I went in and I tested every single tool until I could get the maximum performance out of each tool with the least amount of degradation on the product. And I did that, and I cut the time for cutting that part in half. So I look at everything kind of through that mirror, saying, what can I do? What can we do to make every single part of this better? And even though we're doing some things better, I think there's room to grow still. The way we move pipe around, our welding procedures, some of the cleaning stuff, it's not necessarily perfect, but it works pretty well. We have quite a throughput. One of the things that Helm Group does that we don't do currently is we don't assemble enough ductwork, in my mind, and they do a lot of that, and I think it pays huge dividends. And we've been pushing to get that done here. It's really a shipping issue for us, how we built our shipping, and it's going to make us retool our shipping efforts totally. And that's really what's been holding us back on that. But I think this year we're going to get more into that out of necessity. We're going to have to, because our world is growing so fast. So we're going to have to perform better in that realm of it.
I think McCusker Gill does a decent job of that too. If you're talking to
They
peers
do.
about
They do.
it,
I visited them, and we, what our sheet metal dashboard, Stacy calls it pirated. We pirated that from them. We first saw it at their shop. We said, we really like that. Do you mind if we take a picture of it? And we brought it back here. We changed it, and we added some things to it. All the counters and different trails that we follow through the shop. And we actually acknowledged them in our tour and said, we pirated this from them. Stacy says pirating something is taking it and putting it to work for yourself. instead of stealing it and putting it away.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So that's what we did with that, and it works very well.
Well, I think that's a great example too of what we're saying is, um, you know, we talked about visiting all these different shops, and everybody can take a little bit of something away and apply it to what they're doing, and like you said, Doug, you have to tweak it sometimes. You have to be able to take that idea. You're not gonna, and I think that there's some hesitancy still in the industry to let people in through your doors because they're going to steal everything. But to your point, like, you know, the Helm Group is not going to do the same things that DSI does, but we can take that idea and we can tweak it so it fits into our workflow.
I think we get as much as we give. Really, we've gone on all the tours. We've seen all the things people do. We say we think we're doing that better, or we think we can now do better with what we just saw. So it's a give and take for sure. Most definitely.
You know, I wanted to ask you, because you have gone to all of the tours too. You like make it to most of those. If you were going to pick a shop that was like your innovation shop of the year, it doesn't need to be a throughput or a volume thing, but like something you saw and you're like, that's definitely like a wild dialed in shop. What are some of the shops, and it doesn't have to be one because I'd hate for you to leave somebody out, but what are some of the shops that you really thought had some real innovative ways that they were, you know, that they were accomplishing building?
It's unusual because we went to McGusker Gill and we said, man, these guys are storing all this stuff. They're using Stratus to catalog and store all their items in their warehouse. And we started thinking, do we want to do something like that? But in our market, we store nothing. We have our vendors store everything. So even though that idea was great and they had it organized to a T and they knew where every single thing was, that workflow doesn't fit us at all. So it was like, man, what a cool idea. So we took that idea and we said, could we do this with something else? Can we use this idea somewhere else in our business? And we're attempting to do that now. But that really impressed me how they did that. They were in their tool room through the containers stuff also. You know, I've always liked Ryan Hogan and his guys out there in Seattle. I went through McKinstry out there. We went through several of the shops out there in Seattle last year when we were out, and everybody's got their own little stuff that they do. It's just I'm impressed every time I go. I always see something new.
You were talking earlier before we started recording too that you guys are growing like crazy. How are you iterating on what you do internally? Are you iterating on what you're learning? How are you applying these new learnings to these new shops and in new areas you're expanding into? Or do you try to start with your baseline of what works well in your kind of your main shops and then go from there?
Well, when we first, you know, when we did our fab tour, we basically focused around Stratus because that was our new workflow going forward. That's what drove all of our technology, all of our tooling, all of our processes. And when we first started that, we started out with the goal to start all 9 shops at the same time, all of our current 9 shops. So that's 3 plumbing, 3 piping, 3 sheet metal, all at the same time. Well, we couldn't get anybody to agree on anything. We couldn't get, you know, everybody had a different idea of what we ought to work on first, how it ought to work and all this other stuff. So we ended up just going to one shop and starting it up. And once it got rolling, we started rolling it out to the next shop and the next shop. And now we're at 17 shops. So we are taking the new shops. Once those first 9 got rolling and everything was working correctly, everything that comes online after that's going all in first pass. So we're going out there. We spent a week in North Carolina. We had 4 guys out there for a week, setting up all the stations, putting all the printers in, teaching the different workflows, training all the guys, material handling, just soup to nuts, everything one time done. So it was a very busy week for 4 people, and that's kind of our goal is we don't want them to come up slowly. We're going to bring them on full blast and just immersion and dump them in there and let them go and make sure we support them. Support's the biggest thing. We have to support them. And I think we do a very good job of that. I told everybody at the tour, we have a Teams channel that we run to support the whole Stratus fabrication effort. And we have a 5-minute time on our support tickets. If it's over 5 minutes, I'm calling. So we average about 2 minutes. So when somebody at a workstation anywhere in the country on a DSI workstation, goes on Teams and says, I'm having an issue, they get a response back in 5 minutes, which is
That's
pretty awesome.
fantastic.
So if you don't support it, it's going to fail. And that's one of the things that we recognize right up front is we have to make sure nobody's waiting on an answer, and nobody's waiting because the system's not working or they don't understand how to use it.
Yeah. Can we, and maybe you don't know exactly off the top of your head, but just so the people listening, because I think what you just talked about is critical to the success of a platform that's going to take over operations like that, like the way Stratus does for you. I mean, if it's clearly going to be the way you run your business, it's got to be supported, and it's got to be maintained and online at all times. But that level of support, what's like a good metric that we can talk about, like personnel wise? So if you look at how many shops there are, stations or whatever, how many people do you have on that support team, and what do you think their capacity? I mean, if someone wanted to scale, because most people aren't going to be DSI size, so they probably don't need what you guys are talking about. But let's give them like a hint here. Can you elaborate on that?
We've got approximately 500 users in Stratus, and we have 7 guys monitoring and maintaining. And
Okay.
those guys have other jobs. So there are database guys, there are Trimble guys, there me, there Adam Nichols, who's doing our detailing VDC technology guy, running our group. So we have multiple people, and everybody's got it on their phone. So Sunday morning, I'm sitting at my house, and 7 o'clock, boom, I get pinged that something's not working. We go online and we're on it. That happened. This happened Sunday, and 3 people answered the phone call Sunday morning.
I love it.
So we have just a dedication of the guys and their involvement that they want this thing to work, and they're behind it 100%. It's really a mindset. Once those guys buy in and get behind you, and we're all pulling in the same direction, it kind of runs itself. We don't have to put them on call. We don't have to beg them to answer their phone. It just works. It's just the guys.
Put them, you guys out there, write that down. That's huge. I mean, that is, you talk about, I commend DSI for that. You talk about putting your destiny in your own hands. I mean, what I see out of most people with these software providers, and it's not a knock at the software provider, but when you're putting the sole responsibility of the success of that product into the hands of the people that sold it to you and relying on their support teams and you're sometimes, controlling your own destiny there. I mean, what better way to take control of that and say that we're going to dedicate a team. We're going to put resources toward it because we've acknowledged that it's that important to us. I think that's, rather than sitting around complaining and bitching about the software providers all the time. It's like, well, you stepped up and did something about it, right? I think that's great.
For Revit. Put in a ticket that says Revit. My prints aren't coming out correctly, and they'll get back to you in about a week or 2. So we know that, we live that life. So we said we cannot allow that. We have to support this on the spot and be right there with the guys, just like we're with them in the field. And that seems to work. We get such a good buy-in on that. We don't get complaints. We don't get grumbling. We don't hear any reports back from management. It just doesn't happen, which is, it's really healthy, because when you can go tell the guys, man, everything is working. You guys are doing a great job. It's perfect. Everything is good. And it makes them feel good. Makes them want to do more.
Heck yeah. Success feels good.
Sure.
Yeah.
Hell
When
yeah,
it works,
it
it works. Yeah.
Absolutely. It actually, and at the bottom line here is it really removes work away from us. It takes a lot of that headache off of the technology detailing group. The software works well. It's got its issues. It's just like Revit. When you take it out of the box, it doesn't run. You have to program it. You have to customize it. You have to make it your own. And doing that, in the process of doing that, you basically learn how it works inside and out. And those guys are now the experts.
So, Doug, like with you said that you are a person that dials things in, and you just keep dialing and dialing a little bit faster, honing those tools and everything else. What do you see as sort of the next? You said you were going to work on getting sort of ductwork spooling up and running, getting the shipping down on that. What do you see as one of those next big hills? Because I was thinking about McCusker Gill when you were talking about them, and I did like their inventory, but I loved they were dropping down duct riser through their buildings. And the way that they had rigged that and the way that they had engineered that was freaking impressive.
Absolutely.
So like, what's the next, you know, as an innovative shop, like you got a bunch of innovative people, you got the software to a place that most people aren't going to get it. What's the next big challenge or something you see that's juicy?
Well, one of the shops we just opened is in Houston. We opened up a modular shop down there dedicated to modular construction, skid construction, 100% doing nothing but. So we're going to have a whole team going into that system over there, trying to do pump skids, filter skids, chiller skids, modular racks, towers, everything. So that's a whole nother business unit that we're kicking off that we're going to support. And it's going to help our construction side by giving them the ability to hit faster on certain types of projects, data centers and things like that. You know, building prefab cooling racks and other things that the industry wants to get up to speed faster. That's our next big push.
Just a giant modular manufacturing plant.
Yep, exactly. Right. Which would be fun, right? That's kind of stuff I like doing. So that's always good stuff. I mean, we can build toilet batteries all day long. We've done 1,000 of them. And so it'll be fun to get in there and build some pump skids, filter skids, and neat stuff. You know, you saw one of the skids as we went through our tour in here that we did for that automaker here locally, and that was a lot of fun. You know, just something outside the box that gets your juices flowing a little bit.
Yeah, man. Did you like in regards to that, like oh, darn it, I lost my question because when you started talking about the skids, I started thinking about the skids, and now I'm stuck there, man. I apologize. I'll have to think of something.
I was gonna stick in a question here quick because we I don't want to talk too much about Stratus itself, but I think that what you guys did as a Stratus customer, and I was kind of curious how you do this with other technologies. Like, you are customer number one for that product, but you didn't deploy it for 3 years.
Right.
I think that a lot of us, in our backgrounds as construction technologists, we do try to get things ready as possible, but I don't think many of us would have waited 3 years. Can you explain the thought process? Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, because we went up and visited you and y'all were using it and we were like, we're not ready yet.
Yeah. But can you explain that thought process a little bit? And then is that something that you apply in other areas, or is that kind of pretty specific
that's my
to this
standard one? MO.
Okay.
I want to make sure that nothing's 100%, but I want to make sure that it's as good as we can get it and we're comfortable with it before we release it out into the wild. I've said this, I said it on our last Dorkcast, and I said it at the show, that you only have one chance to make a first impression. Once you throw it out there, it's on the street. If it fails, they're never going to look back. So we don't have time to fail. I mean, like Trent said, this is a product that we're putting in place to run our business. And if it fails, our business fails, we fail, and somebody gets sent down the road, and we don't want to do that. So we want to make sure we're comfortable 100%. Our company trusts us, and they believe in us, and they know we're going to do the right thing. And they do that because we've never dealt them wrong, right? So they trust us. We have to perform, and we have to make sure that the products that we put in front of them are ready for prime time. And they're never 100%. We have issues. We did the same thing with docks back in the day. We launched it about a year before it was really ready to launch. And you couldn't print drawings. You couldn't do this. You couldn't do that. And we flew to San Francisco. We met with the Autodesk team and we said, we got to do this. We have to have these 10 things or the system will never work for us. And they actually got them done. So a year later, we're starting to bring things online and the system's starting to work. And everybody's going, hey, wow, that thing is really coming around, you know. And then they changed over to Build and integrating PlanGrid into it, and now it's starting to get even better. So yeah, we just want to be real cautious and make sure we're doing the right thing for our company.
I remembered my question while you guys were talking.
My
question was like, you guys are starting a manufacturing plant. Just say skids, I'll get distracted. It'll be that easy. No, what I've seen a lot happen is as soon as people start to get to the point where they're building module modules, they start building their own componentry too. Like we've seen a couple shops come out with, patented new plumbing componentry that's built around the prefab market. Have you had anybody bring up some, some great ideas in regards to that on the sort of in-house manufacturing side or building new products for the market type thing?
Bob is a manufacturer, and Bob wants to manufacture. We want to build parts. We want to build things. We think that our niche is going to be in putting components together and doing it the best anybody can do. I don't know if I see anywhere in our future that we're going to be a manufacturer of component parts that we could sell on the market. I mean, we'll sell you a skid pack, but we're probably going to buy the pump from somebody else and the filter from somebody. It's not what we do. It's not our specialty. We're a contractor, and we're going to probably stay in that lane.
So you're a pit crew, not a mechanic.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's important though. I think that the manufacturing, that's a big buzzword in our industry right now, people. And I think people are having a little bit of an identity crisis where, I've seen it at places where they're looking at their fabrication shop that supports their construction operations and they're talking about manufacturing. And I'm kind of like, you're not you're not though. Like, I mean, and maybe that's okay. I think people have that mentality where if they don't say they're a manufacturer, they feel like they're not doing the right things, but it's okay. You don't need to be. I mean, I think it's important what you just said. A lot of people could take note of that. I mean, there's a business out there.
Also, when you say manufacturer, you think of somebody building parts to build a system, right? We mentioned Bob a minute ago. He's going to build these parts to develop a component that he's going to sell as a unit. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to make a pump skid, and you want to buy pump skid A, B, or C. It's going to be a product that we sell. So we are manufacturing that product, but we're not constructing the pieces within it. We're building it and selling it as a component system. And for the data centers and things like that, where you have modular cooling racks and you have 500 of them, we're going to build 500 type A's and 200 type B's. So we will at the end of the day have a catalog for those parts and pieces that we build, and you will be able to call and order them, and that will be a kit that we put together. We'll have the designs turnkeyed and tweaked where they're perfect, and we just whoop them up and out the door they go.
Do you think there's room? Because I actually wasn't thinking about Bob. I was actually thinking about some electrical contractors that I went out to see their shop. And the only reason they wanted to get to that manufacturing spot was they were running into supply chain issues. And what they were coming up with was they couldn't guarantee certain aspects, certain materials through the supply chain. So they're like, we can't guarantee them. We're going to have to make them ourselves. And I think the only thing I would ask you out of that though really is the supply chain has been really rough on electrical. Has been kind of rough on everybody else. How has that affected you? Because the more you get towards that polished 100% pit crew, the more detail oriented it is, and the more throwing a monkey wrench in there is going to cause damage. So how is the supply chain, issues after COVID and even right now? How are they hitting you guys? Is it had big effect, little effect?
Huge effect. It's terrible. We manufacture some ductwork that we typically wouldn't manufacture, so we can control the outcome of it. We're going out and buying things from 10 different places where we used to buy it from one. We've got a year-long wait on certain materials for some of the semiconductors that we're doing. So, some of the bigger manufacturers came in and bought the entire stock for the entire country for a year. So nobody has any left to get. So we're going overseas and we're buying from places we wouldn't buy before. It's the supply chain is messed up right now. It's terrible, and it makes us be better planners is what it does. We have to plan in advance. We buy our metal a year in advance. So we have to use tools that we've developed, and one of them is our tool that we use to fabricate with, and we anticipate by the models that we have drawn how much work we have on our plate coming up in the next year. So that's just a side benefit of that tool is we can not only see how many feet of pipe or pounds of duct or anything else, but we can tell how many weld inches we have coming up in the next 12 months. And do we have enough capacity as far as welders and hours in the day?
Yep.
That was a little thing we ran a while back, and I forget what the number was, but it was like, we need 72 welders. And it's like, holy shit, we don't have 72 welders. So we had to figure out, we start scattering people around and looking at different ways to maintain that workflow and get that throughput through the shops. But that tool gave us the ability to look ahead and see that.
Do you think that's a lot of the supply chain issue is not the supply, but actually the demand increase?
It's both.
It's both
The
at once.
demand has grown substantially. I mean, our workload has grown substantially, and which we're happy to see. But on the inverse of that was the materials are harder to get, and our workflow is increased. So now we got a double whammy. So it's a tough one right now. It's tough, and I'm seeing a lot of smaller guys having trouble staying up with it. You know, we've got people around here that are smaller contractors cannot get materials. They're catering to the larger guys, and smaller guys are just having to take second fiddle back seat, and it's not pretty.
Yeah, I was gonna jump in and ask about that, because I mean, DSI is unique in that, right? You guys are, I don't know, what's referred to as the 800-pound gorilla, right? You've got 6 people, and you've got a lot of systems. You got the ability to plan out. What do you tell those smaller ones that are, you know, aren't at the front of the line and don't have some of that? How can they start attacking that or even thinking about it?
It's really plan your work and keep an eye on what you got coming up, because you got to plan for the worst. And in times like this, you have to know what's coming up and know what the availability is. We have small contractors that can't get duct work. You can't even build a house right now because they can't get flex duct. It's 10 months on flex duct. So the residential construction is crazy right now. Everything is crazy.
Oh yeah, I mean, we're seeing the uptick in residential construction, the issues with materials of all sorts, and they keep coming from left and right. You know, we were talking panels not too long ago. Now we're talking flex duct work, and we were talking steel rolls, and people going out and, you know, clamoring up all the steel and having to think differently.
But
my nephew builds houses, and a guy called me the other day and says, I have an 18-wheeler full of windows. Do you want it? And he said, yeah, I'll take it. He bought the windows, this 18-wheeler full of windows, sight unseen, size is unknown, just because I need windows and I'll figure out how to make them work.
There you go. That's like, the mark of innovation. We're talking about being innovative. There you go. Look, supply chain problems.
6-inch windows in my living room.
Supply chain problems are a given. You know, we know it. It's affecting everyone.
Do you think though, with the push towards manufacturing and fabrication, I've kind of had a thought in a while, like in the future, we're going to have contractors that are fabricators and contractors that are installers. Do you see more and more of those small and medium-sized contractors coming to companies like DSI and to purchase that?
Mm-hmm.
And that, I mean, because you can use your buying power to hopefully supply to them.
We already do that. Yeah.
Okay.
We're manufacturing for multiple contractors. Yep. Selling them ductwork, piping, all kinds of things. It's definitely happening.
I'd be interested too, how they approach that. Like, because Travis, you and I agree on that I think that's partly part of the future, and DSI has to still be experiencing, you know, the issues we have with labor for installing. Like, you can kind of control the factory floor that you've built, you know, that shop floor, but with the increase, can you see an opportunity for those folks to become preferred installers for you, where you would, you know, subcontract that work out for them, or at least find a new niche for them?
It's possible, because this year we're slated to go to 2,800 employees. So it's going to be tough when we get up there. Yeah.
Trent, I think I stepped on you. Did you have a question? Stepped on you earlier.
Oh, no, it's all good. I was just pointing to the fact that we're talking about innovation, and all the things Doug said was the mark of an innovative company, not just in tech. I mean, the supply chain issues, all that stuff's a given. It's affecting everybody. What are you going to do about it? You know, that this company doesn't just sit back and say, I can't get stuff. It is what it is. You know, you got to innovate. You got to find a way. I mean, the as-built conditions in the market are what they are. So that's all I had. You didn't step on me. It just reiterating what he's saying.
Yeah.
Well,
We're finding different ways to build stuff. We're making recommendations for other material classes. You know, when we run into things that we can't find that, what about this? Have you thought about this material? How about let's go to stainless? Copper's not available. Let's run our water lines in stainless. And
Exactly.
in some cases, stainless is cheaper than copper. So we try to bring those things to the client early so we don't get stuck holding the bag waiting on components.
Well, I think that's a good point too. That's something that I think this especially trades for a long time. We didn't feel maybe power to do. Like everything was just kind of pushed down to us, and we just got to build it with what it is. But it's nice to see that we're starting to be able to bubble information back up and hopefully affect the project outcome then.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
Hey,
We do that quite a bit. And, we used to call it VE. And now I don't know what we call it now, but it's trying to get the damn job done, right?
Delivery engineering now. Now it's like, yeah, you want your job done, you need to let me do this.
I'm going to call it ME, right? It's materials engineering. Like, how do we handle the submittal to make sure we get all the information right and we can actually substitute this thing?
We don't submit anything until we find out if they're actually making it anymore. So it's crazy.
Making it, or if you can just buy it. Like,
Yeah.
Can we get this?
Somebody got a case of them left in their basement somewhere. It's nuts.
That's part of it, man.
Yeah, but we're talking about Jonathan. You asked about what other things we may be doing. We're talking about the Novarks and looking at the robotic style welding and the other types of things like that can improve the processes. Just incrementally get better and better and better. Just all kinds of different things that we're looking at. We're actually talking about. In the sheet metal shop, we actually have a break in the process, and that is we have to go to CAM still. The Stratus can't talk to the shop, so we have to go to CAM. So we're trying to find a way to get Stratus directly talking to the shop so we can talk directly to the machines, just like we do in the pipe shop. So, we've got other things still in play to incrementally increase our productivity at every step of the way, and there's 10 different lanes we're in. So it's a full-time job. It's fun stuff.
Are you guys doing anything on the projection side? Like you were talking about having to know what's out there, and you were talking about the tool you're using, which I'm assuming you're doing some estimating / modeling and getting some quantities. But like, do you have anything where you're looking at the whole market and saying, okay, this is the like, are you getting any idea of how much volume of like copper and other materials you're going to need? Just based on like a pre-estimate stuff for the next year, or do you have to bring it through?
No, our pre-construction group does that. They look at all the commodity prices and they'll say we need 4,000 pounds of copper next month, and they'll look or let's say next year. They're planning ahead for a year because the copper prices fluctuate so bad. So when copper goes down, we're going to buy, and when it goes up, we've got the material in hand. And that's why we buy 3 or 4 million pounds of steel at a time. And when the market dips on steel, we buy. And so we treat it as a commodity internally. So we try to take advantage of the market and the pricing. So when it dips down, just like when fuel dips down, everybody fills their tank up. And we try to fill our stock at the same time.
Contractor / commodity trader. I love it.
Got it.
Yeah.
That's my world, man. I live in the pre-construction world, and that's with the joke we've made. It's you're not in pre-construction, you're a commodities broker right now.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
There's not enough of you that actually go buy this stuff ahead of time, though. I think, and I'd be interested because from a lean perspective,
well, they can't get paid for it.
Right. You don't get
smaller guy. That's a big pinch on a smaller guy.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
But it's interesting because you've got, say, the general contractor that's not really buying any of that, and you guys are buying that. How are you working with generals on that, and where does that come into play?
Sometimes, depending on the contract, we can negotiate it in as soon as we get the job. They pay for the materials up front if we already own them. Sometimes, as soon as we fabricate it, they buy the materials, and sometimes it's when we deliver it.
Mm-hmm.
So we negotiate that into the contracts. And most of our contracts are negotiated work anyway, so we kind of have a little bit of say-so in how those work.
I love that. That should be in the project management curriculum. Procurement should be billable. I think that's
Absolutely.
yeah. That's
we're
a
seeing
great
more of it
point.
too,
Yep. Well, it costs us money for sure. So
for sure.
Oh, yeah,
Pass that
damn
on.
straight it does. Yeah.
oh yeah.
So I got a
Absolutely.
texting question for you too, man.
Okay.
Do you think that, you guys are based out of Texas and there is a culture down there? Like when we saw your shop and everything else, there was a culture down there that's different than if you're going to see some other shops. Like, do you think that you guys would have had the success you are having now in a different market, or do you think that being where you're at, it's the the energy sector and all the other sectors that are down there? Do you think that was a big part of why you guys are seeing success?
I think it comes from management. I think that our management breeds a family atmosphere, and they treat people right, and they expect a hard day's work, right? But they don't beat down on people. And they treat you fair, and they give you good pay, and they take care of you, and they give you amenities. You saw that we have air conditioned break rooms and bathrooms. People don't do that. So we did it. We want to take care of our employees. We want them to enjoy working here. We want them to stay working here. So we try to incentivize them through little niceties to keep them productive. And the more they stay here, the more that training benefits us. So I think that we would have been as successful wherever we were just because of that concept and that mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting, man, because I like I said, I had Will McManus on, and he really he said the exact same thing. Funny thing was, we tried to kind of put our finger on it with him, get him, and all he could say was, it's just the family atmosphere. We just approach it that way. We've approached everything that way, and I think you're right. I think any market it would work, and I wonder if some of that foundational experience, like that leadership team that you have, and Will said it a lot, that like it goes, you got the driver award for winning the race, right? But it's the pit crew. And I think that continues across the board. I'm wondering what other foundational things you think that the culture has that allow you to just kind of get out and not feel like you're getting over your skis, but just to push.
Well, I'm gonna take it back a little bit. The owner of our company would walk through the office, and he owns the whole thing. He'd walk through our office, and he would come into your desk and sit down and say, "How's your wife? How's the kids? Is your son playing baseball this year?" And he would know you and make you feel like you were important. And when he left the room, you're going, "I'm working for that guy. I'm gonna do whatever I got to do. I'll take a bullet for that guy right there because he cares." That's a huge part of this. The guys have to know, and we're not talking about the general population. We're talking about the people that are running the work, the people that are pushing the buttons. Those guys know that somebody cares enough to come and talk to you and ask about your family, and you owe that guy everything you got, right? He takes care of you. He feeds your family, and you have a dedication to that. And I mean, I think that's what makes this work. I really do.
Yeah. People put that in a bad light sometimes with execs and owners, and they, it's always that argument of, well, they're rich, they got all this money, and but you bring up a really solid point there where, well, why do the money's a byproduct, right? It's a byproduct of what he's doing there. I mean, it's
byproduct of the risk he takes.
Well, yeah. Most people don't understand that side of it, but
right.
It's because of all those things that you guys are doing and doing the right thing. I mean, the rest of it follows, but I really think it comes back to just the theme of the episode is it's an innovative company. And most of the time on this show, we talk about innovation in relation to tech, but DSI is an innovative company, not just at the tech level. In every aspect, they can change direction. When life gets tough in one area, they find a way around the tough. I mean, that's the whole reason they're successful. I think it's a good tie-in to the innovation plug. So,
well, to expand on that, Trent, it's a really good point. Every market has ups and downs, highs and lows, and our owner knew that. We were in the semiconductor business when we started in '88, and we were 100% in semiconductor. One project, actually, every one of our employees was on one job. And he saw that as a shortfall. We could get hurt real bad if that market came down. It would kill us. So he started diversifying, but he went into markets that were kind of not parallel markets, but almost opposite markets. Dallas is high, Austin's low, Houston is high, Dallas is low, San Antonio. So he went into all these markets, and when we saw the industry, like in 2008 and stuff, start fluctuating, we would lose market share here, but gain market share there. And even through all those tough times that the country saw as a whole, we never went down. We stayed on an upward climb the entire time because we had balanced markets. So one went down, the other one went up, and we stayed level or stayed growing the whole time. It was a vision of his, I think, that got us through that. And a lot of companies didn't make it so well. And I think it was just a vision that got us through that, and it was his master plan.
And I think that's something kind of back that plays out in the way that you're deploying your technology, is having that vision of the future of where you want to go, where you want to be. And it's interesting as we're talking through this, I was thinking about, well, how do you pivot? But you seem to pivot even as you're taking a long, slow run at whatever you're doing. It is really interesting to watch and to hear about.
We're constantly pivoting, probably more than we want to.
Goes into a spin at times.
Oh, yeah.
Well, every pivot, yeah. I mean, every pivot isn't successful, right? But it's your ability to pivot and do it that makes. I mean, that's what makes you great. Not every.
Normally we pivot because we ran into a wall, right? So we find something that we can't get through, and what do we got to do to get around it? What do we got to do to make it work? And we kind of shift a little bit, and we head a different direction. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, we'll take another route. But we're prepared for that. We got our guys that are always looking at that. I mean, I tell my guys, look ahead, look a month ahead, look 2 months ahead. What are we going to run into that we haven't seen before? Be prepared for that. Ask the questions now, so we don't get into a pinch down the road. And no surprises. I don't like surprises. So that's one of my biggest things is you got to look ahead and you got to anticipate what's coming.
Well, that's like the common story of, how everybody becomes an overnight success after doing something for 20 years, right? Is all that forethought and all that planning.
Yeah.
That's not an overnight success if you've been doing it for 20 years.
No, but that's what they say. It takes a heck of a lot of work to become an overnight success. That's the key to it all, right? It's the Forrest Gump on the shrimping boat. All the other shrimping boats are gone. You are the shrimper. That's the way this thing works. And on that exact note, I want to see, what do you think? So again, I get to keep drawing this back to a conversation I had with the other part of your team, and our talk was around ERP, right? Your ERP system, which is just really basic tech, right? Like it's not flashy or considered innovative. And when I say basic, I don't even know. We didn't even actually say what ERP you use. I'm just saying ERP in general, pretty basic tech.
Yep.
What do you think today at DSI in 5 years from now, 10 years from now, is something we'll say, oh, that's basic tech you have to operate. And it's going to help us do, these things in the future?
I think our biggest push right now is purchasing and estimating. I mean, we've got the fabrication, the construction side of this down. With the ERP stuff is down. Purchasing and estimating, and that's how you get your work, right? That's how you get it, and that's how you buy it outright. And those are probably the two things that we need to work hardest on right now to make sure that we can get that 10 years down the road. On our shops, on our fabrication, on our construction, when we started launching this new product, people said, we don't need that. We know what we're doing. We've done it this way for 30 years. Well, that's not going to work on the purchasing and estimating side. It's just not. They have to get innovative. They have to do better. They have to find better ways. There might even be that dreaded 2-letter word that starts with an A somewhere in there. Who knows?
Ends with an I.
We don't want to talk about it. But we're going to have to get better, faster, stronger at those two things to stay ahead or to stay alive in this world. I think it's going to get harder and harder
Well, that's interesting that you picked that out, because that is definitely one of the areas of industry is that there's still that black magic box, right? They do all this
Yeah.
takeoff and phone calls, and all of a sudden they just crap out the spreadsheet. That's the magic number that's going to make or break you.
That's the new frontier, I think, in tech in our industry is going to be in the estimating world. That is, for the longest time, everybody's talked about BIM being the black hole, right?
Yep.
I mean, when you look at most estimating departments, though, BIM's doing all right. I mean, I don't know. I think I think that estimating is. I think that's the new frontier. I think you nailed it. That's the thing that hasn't innovated. I mean, estimating has stayed pretty consistently where it is for quite a while now.
Yeah. You always ask, hey, are the hangers in the estimate? Oh yeah, they're in there. Can you show me where they're in there? No, but they're in there. Where? Yeah, they're in there for sure.
There's so many feet of pipe. So many feet of pipe.
It is a black hole, and that's something that we're definitely focused on fixing and taking to the next level.
That's somewhat scary for those smaller contractors, because I know what you guys do for estimating and what Travis does and what Hill does, and some of them, it's not what other companies are doing. It's ahead of what other companies are doing. Like most of the time by not a little margin, by a big margin. So to say that you guys feel that at that level of maturity in your estimating departments, you have to move forward. I think that's a big warning to the nice part is, for all those small firms, we just copy off of your cheat sheets when you're done. Like we don't even like just so you know, I meet with a lot of small contractors and they're just like, we'll just do whatever they're doing.
In estimating, careful who you cheat off of. It's like, it's like a math test, man. I don't know.
That's
right. I did have, we're running up on 7. I did have one question I wanted to ask you, because you were Innovator of the Year. And I know you said, hey, it's my team. But part of the reason you're Innovator of the Year is because you said, hey, it's my team. Like literally that's part of that. But what were some of the I think each year I look at the people that sort of have been really innovative and they're very inspiring. What have been some of the inspiring people for you as you've been growing your department, as you've been growing, you're part of the company, and outside of the ownership, because I think that you've made it real clear that you were inspired by their ethics, by their planning, by their understanding of what's going to be good. But do you have some other inspirations you could share with people out there?
Well, I'm going to have to break your rule and go back to the owner again, because he, back in the early 90s, had this vision that we could do design work in 3D. And I sent you that thing, right? I sent you that brochure.
Yeah.
So
that thing was so cool.
He had that, and the other day, our leadership, one of our guys called me a dreamer. And I said, I was a little bit set back by that, and that said, man, that's not very nice to call me a dreamer. And I started thinking about it. I said, the hell yeah, that's nice. That's like a fucking pat on the back, man. I like that, because I think that the man that I was following that did that in 92 was a dreamer too. And he said, I think we can do this. And we did it. And so I look at what we're doing now as an extension of that. When we sold that and moved on, I kind of felt empty inside because I didn't have that anymore. And I always wanted to get back to that 3D design, that what we were doing for that industry. And I feel we're almost back to that now. And so it felt really good to see this thing come through and to see it working and to see the tools working together and feeding the beast, basically. So I really look at that as his inspiration to all of us that this is possible.
Right on.
Very cool.
Construction dork dream catchers coming.
We do need to start making some swag. That'd be some cool stuff to.
I don't know that I'm hanging up a
oh, come on, man.
You get yourself around people like Doug Smith, who got these dreamers that are out there. You're gonna want your dream catcher.
You're
in Colorado. Like, that's the perfect place, right? You get your dream catchers and you just get
our incense out.
Right.
Gummies, maybe.
Oh, wait.
Not for me now. We drug test.
Not for me. We drug test here.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. Hey, look, it takes dreamers, right? At every level, you gotta be seen that way. It gives that other team, right? He gave you room to spread your wings and try,
Yes.
right? And I think
Yeah.
you doing it again now, you've got probably a team that you're doing the same thing for. I think it's important to pass that on.
Well, I'm getting older, so I try to tell my guys, I said, one of these days you're going to be that guy, and you need to be dreaming now. What's your next vision? Where do you think we're going? Start thinking about it now, and let's talk about it. And so they're planning now, and I'm encouraging that.
Yep. Like Bobby Boucher, visualize and attack. Right?
Visualize and attack.
I thought you were going high quality H2O.
I thought he was too.
Hey, right back to it.
You're drinking pickle juice, and we all know.
All right, you got me. It's pickle juice. Damn it! All right.
I did want to comment one more time. Like as I've gotten more and more well networked in the industry, it is interesting to me that the high performing companies, no matter how big they are, still have that small town, small company family feel. I do think it is fairly unique to construction. In the end of the other industries that I've worked for, the big companies, maybe the local office felt that way, but not the entire company.
I don't think that construction companies as a whole should fit in that box, that corporate box.
Mm-hmm.
We definitely don't. I mean, our culture is substantially different from that. We're not, I think we just got an HR department like a couple of years ago. So a real one, but we
ADP doesn't count.
Sometimes run a little bit loose. We try to have fun and enjoy ourselves, and it just we can't be driven by that corporate philosophy. We're privately owned too, so we don't have bean counters, looking down everybody's throat all day, every day, which makes it a lot easier to do what you need to do and be flexible to turn and twist as you need to.
Those are the things I noticed too, Travis, when all the shops that I go to is you see the high performing ones, two things that stand out: the culture. You see the buddy, you can just see it in the way they act. And then the ones that you walk through that you're kind of like, they're not really doing as much. A lot of times the culture is not there. The other thing, and this relates to how Doug and them like to share, the other one is the picture thing. I go to a lot of shops and I always want photos and stuff because I like to document my travels. And the ones that tell you, no, absolutely no photos, I don't want, they're always the ones that you're not impressed by. I'm serious.
Maybe they don't want a bad photo.
And all the shops I go to where they're just like, yeah, go ahead, take some, because they're proud of it, I think. And those are the ones that they're just you're just more blown away with what they're doing. It's kind of funny.
Hey Doug, you know Mike Shin?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so I'm interested. Shin made these welding booms, and I'm like, hey, can we take a couple pictures? He's like, would you like to come to Seattle, come to my shop with your scanner and scan the entire thing? And then when I'm leaving, he's like handing me sheets of all the materials he used to build these welding booms. I'm like, holy crap. Like, this is the best thing ever. I went back.
The only welding booms in the world with air brakes on them. So it's cool.
Dude, yeah. We put truck brakes on ours, and we put right on it Shin. We were like, yeah, this is just us pirating Mike Shin,
Absolutely. And he loved it.
We got to get Mike Shin on the show. That's
we should do
man. That would be a fun.
He's a dude, man. He's hilarious. I think that's what I noticed, Trent, is actually when I go from shop to shop is if you go to a shop where everybody in the shop knows the owner's name and they're all talking about him positive, you're good. I felt it pretty hard at McCusker Gill. There was one where I was like, okay, their owner is pushing this. When I was at Spader, Terry Spader, the reason that stuff got done is that owner wanted it done. And if you messed it up, he kind of smiled at you and was like, well, try again. Really fast, but try again.
Yep. and I'll further that a little bit too. Like obviously we're all union contractors, like, and you go to these places and yes, we're all proud. The craftspeople are all proud union people, but there's not a big, I'm union, I'm not company. Like they're both, and that's fun to see too. I can't speak obviously to the other side because I don't have experience with that, but
I've
cool.
seen good or bad on the other side, just like anything else.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's non-union
Yeah.
side. I've seen people doing some really, really awesome stuff, great companies. And I mean, there's,
But there's not that labor management divide. Everybody is there for the end purpose.
All right, I saw that at McGusker. I saw that when we were at Helmets. Those guys were lockstep, man. They were all following that charge of this is what we're going to do.
Mhm.
No matter if it made sense or not, we're going to try it until it fails, right? We're going
Right.
to make it work, do our best. It was awesome.
We're gonna all go off the cliff together.
Absolutely.
Well, and I can be the one to say that, I've seen a lot of the open shops and been on the open shop side a bit. And I think the commonality is that I think if you took those open shop owners and put them into union areas or vice versa, it's that family atmosphere. It's that attitude. It's that the core of that owner that comes with it. The unions themselves and the pride that they have in their job versus a disconnect. I think you can walk into any shop and see a disconnect. If that owner thinks they can do this without that labor, you're going to see that disconnect no matter if you're in either one, right? That's just obvious. And I think that's the difference is it's, culture eats strategy for breakfast, but culture without strategy, it's kind of just flailing in the wind. I think that's some of the other difference, right? Is that you get that there. So, we're getting close to that time where we got to wrap it up. I want you to put out a carrot for the next innovator of the year, Doug. If you had a single problem to solve, or could look for, hey, if you come to MEP Innovations in January, which we're already going to start saying it's coming, right? Hey, by the way, if you're listening in, those calls for proposals are out. So get yourself out there, get your company out there, get yourself
closing
out there.
soon, I think.
It is closing soon, I think.
Yeah. So make sure you go ahead. But what nugget, what shin welding machine would you want to use?
And that is a loaded question right there. Holy cow. There's so many things. Layout, layout and hangers are such a huge part of our business, and the different types of scenarios that we run into with both of those things. How we fabricate that, how we lay them out, when do we lay them out, before or after, all of that stuff. We need to have a better method in our business to do that. Even though we have Trimbles and GPS systems and all that stuff, it's still a very slow process, very slow. That's one. I think the shops are really becoming their own thing. They're tracking very straight now. I believe most of them are. It's really, I would like to see it in the purchasing side and how we handle material. I mean, I'm very interested in the vendor management type systems in shops where we can maintain and manage our own commodity material, copper pipe, fittings, PVC, everything. So we don't wait on vendors to bring us stuff. We don't order stuff by the job. We order it and we have it as commodity sitting in our shop ready to go. I think that's probably going to be the next big push in our business, is to try to manage and maintain materials better.
Well, you put a couple of big ones out there for people. So if you're listening in and you're waiting to innovate, well, don't start looking at layout hangers.
We're going to start our betting lines on who we think is going to be
there
next
you go.
year too.
I was just
innovator of the year was the Dusty Robot, right?
I was just gonna throw it out there then that Doug, you've got to do that now so we can rub it in Jeff Elwell's face that you're the first back-to-back winner of the Innovator of the Year.
He was going for it this year.
He was going for it. He was lobbying behind closed doors. I think
he was throwing money around.
I was gonna say, like, he was definitely doing his best campaign he could in the background.
Yeah, I don't know.
To the best of that Jeff Elwell could campaign, right?
That's right.
When I think politician, Jeff Elwell doesn't come to
the top.
That's the one.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't put him at the top of that.
No,
I'm not there either. That's not me.
Nah.
That's not.
I will tell you, Doug. I'm very happy that you got the award. You're one of my favorite people in the industry. I met you first time when we ourselves came down to talk about Stratus when it was still just a PowerPoint, and just enjoyed hanging out with you and learning about DSI and the whole thing. So it's a real pleasure to see you to get an award like that.
Come a long way.
Same here,
Long
Doug.
time.
Always respected you.
Fun stuff.
And tell Jay Rohan I said hi.
Yeah, tell Jay.
I'll try.
All right.
Nice
You'll have to yell it.
all day.
You have to,
Have to
yell it.
And we do have a new Smagna video coming out. I think it's going to be out next week. They came and did a tour of our shop and did a showcase on us. So I think it'll be out
cool.
next week.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
Jay's the headliner.
Right on.
I can't
All
wait.
Can't
wait.
pop your
Get into-
popcorn.
Get into video management. Get the popcorn
Start
out.
the
Put it on
popcorn.
Netflix. Let's get it
Melt
ready.
that
to go.
butter.
There we go. It'll melt like butter. That is a wrap, folks. Doug, it is awesome. It is so great to have you on the show. I'm pretty sure there's tons of nuggets that people are going to be listening to. You're probably going to get hit up. So hit them up and connect with them. And with that, I want to thank everybody for tuning in today for episode 65. Don't wait. Innovate.